Welcome back to the Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast with Benji Naesen and to the recap of UAE Tour 2021 Stage 2, the individual time trial. Thank you to Lecole for supporting us, our show partner. They've been with us all of last year, just about. After the Tour, they were with us for the Giro and then the Vuelta. If you want to check out their performance cycling apparel, you can check it out at www.lecole.cc. They're bringing out some new essentials kit. I know you're going into autumn and winter, Benji. I don't even know if you have more than 2 seasons in Belgium. But so Benji and I are always getting different kits at different times. So if you want to check out their winter essentials kit, get yourself ready for winter. Oh no, that's me. I'm confused with the time zones again, Benji. I live my life as if I'm in Europe. Confused. You're going into summer, yeah. Anyway, I'll get the winter kit. Benji can get the summer kit. But it's still basically summer here in Australia. I'm sweating pretty badly. But yeah, link in the description if you want to check out Lecole's stuff. On to UAE Tour 2021 Stage 2, a 13-kilometre ITT at Hudayriat Island. 4th time at that. Even in the preview podcast, still struggling. 13 Ks, pancake flat, around like a bike circuit. Lots of turns. A couple where they actually have to stop pedaling, especially a zigzag or a chicane close to the finish line. 1 intermediate checkpoint, 6 Ks to the finish about halfway through. Who were the big favourites for today, Benji? Was there anyone else that could win?
You weren't wrong when you said favourite. I think we all knew from the moment that the race started that there was only the situation in which Ganna won or the situation in which Ganna didn't win. And the situation in which Ganna didn't win was almost non-existent in my eyes unless he crashes or anything or has an extremely bad day. But we haven't seen that too often. It's been such a change in cycling that about a year and a half ago, the days where the Tony Martin hype was gone, when Cancellara was already retired, we had Evenepoel that was popping up in time trials. We had Dennis taking control of the World Championships and a bit of the World Tour races. But now every single time that Ganna is at the start of a time trial, you are literally saying, Ganna wins. Who's going to get second? And it's so crazy to see that switch. And I honestly find it really interesting to see Pogačar ride against Ganna on this time trial. So we'll head into that discussion a bit later. But it was honestly also curious to see whether Pogačar would confirm once again that he's good at TT, because we saw 2 time trials before with Pogačar that were on the level of very strong, beating Roglic at the Slovenian NC ITT and then the Planche Belfi that everybody keeps talking about. And I think he did Algarve pretty well or something, some time trial 2 years ago as well. But all in all, we needed that confirmation that on the flat terrain he can also sustain it in shorter time trials as well, like a 13-kilometer one like today. And that's what I was looking for at the moment, really.
So here's the results. We always get too confused with the time trials, so we just read out the results at the start and then hit some talking points, mainly because in this instance, the order was really strange. It wasn't in reverse GC position order, so I have no idea how to recap it any other way. Filippo Ganna won, no surprise. 14 seconds ahead of Stefan Bisseger. I'm not going to put in the clipping of me hyping up Bisseger for a top 5 the other day, but no, it exists. He was, 14 seconds behind Ganna, not bad on a 13k TT, over 55k an hour average for Bisseger. Ganna averaged about 56 k's an hour. Mikkel Bjerg, 3rd, the Danish rider for UAE, 21 seconds behind Ganna, and just 3 seconds ahead of his teammate and their GC leader, Pogačar, the first of the GC riders, 24 seconds behind Ganna. Luis Leon Sanchez, quite a nice time, 5th, same time as Almeida, the second of the GC men, 6 seconds lost to Tadej Pogačar in this pancake flat ITT. Not a big surprise to me. The minor Pogačar, I think he's good on the flat. I think he showed in Planche de Belfi on a flat or rolling TT. I think he's just fine. Same with the, So I think this is not just a once-off. I think we just keep expecting this to happen. Valscheid and Stefan de Bod, 7th and 8th. Danny Martinez, 36 seconds behind Ganna. 6 seconds behind Almeida, the best Ineos result apart from Filippo Ganna. Quite a nice TT from him. I mean, I didn't expect him to come top 10, Benji, on this 13K flat ITT. I think that's the biggest surprise for me today, is Martinez there beating Brandler and Jos van Emden.
Yeah, he's certainly one of the surprises that I have on my list today. I think Martinez is already Colombian NCITT in the past, I think, and showed that he can time trial. I believe that he could time trial, but I expected it more on the longer time trials, like you were probably also doing. On the shorter ones like this one, I just didn't know what to expect, and I'm glad to see that he can time trial, because that's an extra GC contender that can time trial as well, so they can also just play a role in GC, because you kind of need that time trial these days to be a GC contender. Now, there's one name we didn't mention so far, and that's Mathieu van der Poel, and there's a bit of an unfortunate story there. This time it's you forgetting Van der Poel, not me. So Van der Poel unfortunately had, well, in his team, a COVID positive, according to what came out this morning on Wielerflits, a Dutch newspaper, sports cycling stuff. And
no, I got the press release from UAE.
Oh, okay.
So,
okay.
I'll read out the official press release. Sorry, Benji. I should have mentioned that before going to the top 10 results. But yeah, Alpecin Fenix, I got this press release. Alpecin Fenix withdraws from the UAE Tour. Alpecin Fenix, in agreement with the UAE Tour organizer, have decided to withdraw its team from the race in order to safeguard the race bubble and ensure the safe continuation of the race. The team was notified of one positive result of a member of its staff from the round of tests conducted on Sunday evening, 21st of February. I don't know why they were testing them after stage 1. Upon receiving the results, the person immediately went into isolation, the staff member that is, not a rider, and all those who came into contact with this person are self-isolating, which obviously includes Van der Poel, in compliance with the protocol measures in place by the race organizer and UAE health authorities. All team members will undertake further tests in the coming days while they remain in isolation. Does that concern you for Omloop, Benji, which Van der Poel is going to be doing?
Actually, Van der Poel is not going to be doing Omloop, and Van Aert neither. So those two riders are missing from that start list. Perhaps if UAE is cancelled for them now, then it might open up for them. But if I recall correctly, I saw on La Flamme Rouge that they were talking about 2 PCR tests that need to be done, one in 1 day, one in 3 days. And if both are negative, then he is free to go. But it really depends on what happens if... will they set their own quarantine of 2 weeks like I'd probably kind of expect after something like this? Or will they change up the schedule to allow him to go to something like Omloop or Kuurne to have the race days? But I'm not sure. He looked in pretty good form. Not sure he needs the race days at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it's a real shame. I was really keen to see how he would go in this TT. I think a top 5 was a lock. I think he would have come top 5. Because of just how he TT'd at Pinkbank, and then that Pinkbank TT in Rijmst was the result which made me think Bisseger would do well. Bisseger then did do well, so Van der Poel had good legs yesterday. Maybe he was tied up yesterday, but yeah, real shame that we couldn't see how Van der Poel would go in the TT, and whether he could have, and then if he was in the leader's jersey, whether he could have defended it or how long he could defend it for tomorrow on the climb. That was remiss of me not to mention that unfortunate news. Maybe it's a false positive, mate, but who knows? I have no idea what's going to happen with the Alpecin team. It reminds me of exactly this time last year when all the riders got their season plans. I mean, it didn't matter because races got cancelled, but they're all stuck in hotels in UAE for ages and ages and ages. But anyway, we got to the top 10, which was 9th Martinez, Brandler 10th. Now just picking out some names as we go down the list. Sergio Higuita, 48 seconds behind Ganna, about 18 seconds behind Almeida. Not a bad result for Higuita. And Antonio Tiberi, Benji, a second behind Higuita. What happened to him?
Like, the first thing is, like, he was doing a good time trial. This man is 19 years old. This is such a godly talented time trial. I'm looking forward to see what he can do. Yes. And he finished, 19th, but he finished in an unfortunate way, let's say, because he ended up crashing with about 5 meters to go in a very, very odd manner. Like, he was riding pretty straight, slightly wiggling because of the performance that he's doing, obviously, towards the line. But at a certain point, it looks like his bike started leaning left under him. And then obviously you've got the counter measures that you do to try and keep it right, that you try and do something to swing it to the other side. But yeah, that's basically overextending, and he just smashed into the ground with his head. So great that he had the helmet on. But what an odd crash. At first I thought, like, did his pedal just broke or something? Because it looked like something stupid weird, like a bike failure of some sort. And yeah, we dove into it ourselves a bit, into a discussion about it. I still don't have a clue what really happened. It just looks like it can't really be a human handling error for me personally, but I'm not a bike expert.
I feel like his left pad slipped. He was getting in and out of the... So as I said when I was previewing the course, how there's a chicane in the last 300 metres. So some riders, some more experienced ones, Jos van Enden, he didn't have to get out of TT position to do that chicane, whereas Pogačar did. He took it sort of out of TT position. Tiberi got out of TT position, then after the corner went to get back in. Got back in fine. It wasn't like when he made that movement, he'd already gone into that position. But then he was there. But it seemed like as he kept putting weight through, like his left arm moved. It was super weird. And maybe there was wind. Maybe he was tired, looking for the line, got distracted. I'm not sure. But he hit his head really hard, and I hope he's all right. He definitely needs a concussion test after he hit his head that hard. And he's a big talent, big talent, Antonio Tiberi. Potential big GC guy for Italy in the future. Good TT. So hopefully he's okay. He got up afterwards, but he's a bit rattled. And I hope they take all precautions with him, because he's obviously he's not going to be contesting GC properly. So, yeah, I think caution's the best approach with Tiberi. But going down the list, names we haven't mentioned, you're probably thinking, where is Yates? Where is Yates? Adam Yates, 34th, 58 seconds behind Ganna. And, let me try and do my quick maths. Struggling with my maths, Benji. 34 seconds behind Pogačar. So 34 seconds behind Shell to Pogačar. He's going to have to go ham on the climb tomorrow, Benji.
Yeah.
If he wants, he's going to need to do. I mean, what's he back now, Yates? On Pogačar, he's 39 seconds back. He's 34 seconds back on Almeida. I think he's going to need another performance of last year, and Pogačar cracking himself. And then he's going to have to, even if he got a minute, he'd then have to defend that on the longer climb later. So Yates in a very, very bad spot for GC. I think. Are you surprised by that TT, Benji? I'm not. I didn't expect much from him, to be honest.
Yeah, I didn't expect much. I think he saved himself relatively well. I don't think it's a horrible TT. I just wasn't expecting much more. It's a bit longer than the Tirreno ITT, so I think in previous years he's done that Tirreno ITT, and we've had a bit of a mark at which we can expect him to get a certain amount of results, but didn't expect too much more. But what I was a bit surprised by, and we mentioned it so much before, Pogačar's time trial was not a one-off last year, and we said we didn't expect that. I still expected Almeida to beat Pogačar, and that's because I somehow felt like in the Giro last year, Almeida was closer to Ganna than he is right now, I think. It just feels like that. I'm telling you,
Benji, the Giro results last year are a mirage.
Yeah,
it's going to become very clear this year. It's all a mirage. And riders that were dominant in certain aspects, Ganna the exception to that, are not so dominant in other races with stronger competition. So I think Almeida is a really, really good TT rider, but I don't think he's better than Pogačar, even on the flat. And I think the longer this TT would have gone, the better Pogačar would have gone. So
I don't think so. Not today. I would have said last year, yes. But like before the intermediate, he had 8 seconds of a gap on Almeida, and at the finish line he had 6 seconds on Almeida. So while Almeida was losing time at the start, he was gaining time in the second half. And I felt like the position of Pogačar on his bike was worsening throughout the time trial. Like it was mentioned before, we joked about it before. Looks like a mine worker on his bike and also on his time trial bike.
Yeah,
mainly when climbing. But I felt his position in like the first half was so much better than the second half.
He did a 1 hour TT last year, Benji. That's maybe the best TT we've seen in the last 10 years.
Yeah, but I'm talking about today, okay? I think in today's form, if it went longer, like 10 kilometers longer, it would have been relatively even, I think.
Yeah, if he paced it like it was a 13K TT, I think
You're right. That's pretty important detail.
I think they're about I think they're about it's about a wash between the two of them in this sort of TT. You know, what is it? 6 seconds is actually a decent margin. And you're right. You are right though. I think Pogačar was losing a little bit at the end, and to say, you know, if he might have misjudged the pacing a little bit, and maybe this wasn't his best performance.
Or it's a choice.
Bjerg up there. Bjerg's second World Tour level ITT podium, which is pretty good. Who else is a big name here? 80th. Or where's Sepp Kuss, Benji? 87th. 87th. 1 minute 40 back. And we're not allowed to criticise him, right, Benji? Because he's saving the legs for the stage tomorrow to go stage hunting, right?
Yeah, he's winning tomorrow.
Okay, so if it wasn't for that, obviously Sepp Kuss would have done the same time as Pogačar and Almeida, and his TT is definitely not a problem for his Grand Tour ambitions if the numerous articles written in the winter this year are to be believed. It's a shame because that's the one downside of the splits yesterday is that I really wanted to see what Kuss could do with no excuses, you know, with having to go for GC. Same with Froome. Froome 83rd, a minute 36 back. What does that mean? Nothing, because he was eight minutes behind on GC. The GC was over before today even began. Caruso, Benji, I thought did a pretty bad TT, actually, for someone who had no excuses. The best Bahrain guy on GC. Yesterday. True, crash, but 50th, a minute 9 back.
No excuses. Crashed on his face in the last 500 meters of the sprint stage.
All right. No excuses tactically. I forgot about the crash. Okay, maybe that affected it. I thought he'd do better. Maybe the crash affected him. But GC positions currently, I should read them out for completeness. Pogačar first, 5 seconds ahead of Almeida. Cataneo, quick-step teammate of Almeida, third. Chris Harper, fourth, 33 seconds behind Pogačar. Yates, fifth, 39 back. Paulus, 41 seconds back in sixth. I think he's going to get top 10, Benji. Paulus, he should be okay on the climb. Anthony Ruth, pardon?
I think top 5. I think that Cataneo's going to be working for Almeida, so
true.
likely will lose time doing so. Chris Harper versus Paulus for 4th and 5th, I guess. Right? Yates, Almeida, Pogačar, that's top 3. And then Ruben Fernandez, who's currently on 15th in GC, could also move up a lot on the climbs, I think.
The podium's open, though, Benji, because if Yates goes full early, which he'll have to try and gain a lot of time tomorrow, if that doesn't work out, and he goes into the red, that could open up that third spot if he cracks as a result of that. That is a possibility that happens, and then Paulus and Harper could be fighting for a World Tour 1 week stage race podium, which would be massive for either of those two. And it's a possibility. David Dekker 8th, Murku 9th, and Skjelmose Jensen for Trek Segafredo 10th. Those guys won't be there after the climb tomorrow. Masnada, Benji, could Masnada leapfrog everybody working for Almeida and also come third? I think he'll finish top 5 maybe as well.
Almeida.
He's only 50. Yeah, but how much so?
That's my point. I don't know. I kind of... I do see a possibility that he'll move up. He'll likely move up. Like the likes of Merku is not going to stay there. Dekker will not stay there. Anthony Roux will most likely not stay there. Archbold will go out of that top 15. So, yeah, I do expect Masnada in the top 10. Fernandez as well. Even Bjerg could kind of move up, but he's also going to be working for Pogačar, so probably not. Caruso will move up. It's kind of those people that I do expect to move up in GC, but we went over Skjelmose Jensen quite swiftly, but the man's like 20, and somebody in the comment section said we'd actually bulge our eyes out at this guy because he is one hell of a talent, and he's already showing that in the first 2 stages here. He's currently in the top 10 of the UAE Tour after 2 days, and some pretty solid 2 days.
Yeah, what's the name? Skelmose Jensen.
Yes.
I think someone. Yeah, I think he failed a doping test. Yeah, he was banned and failed a doping test
Yeah.
a while ago. So
In his second year as a junior, I think.
yeah. So just, I guess, mentioning that for completeness, that's about the only interesting factoid I have about him. But anyway, recap of today's stage. Ganna is imperious and he cannot be touched. I think I don't know how many TTs he's won in a row, 8 in a row or something ridiculous. Bisseger, lovely result for him. His dad was stoked on Twitter. Coming second, I think 15 seconds behind Ganna is very nice. And yeah, I can't wait to see what he can do for the rest of the season. I think Bisseger, if he gets to the Bink Bank Tour ITT and Ganna's not there, I think he could be, he's a guy that could really win World Tour ITTs, Stefan Bisseger, if they're this sort of length. Bjerg, again, showing that he is class on his day, but a bit inconsistent last year, but good result today, and I think he will be better this year too, and he's also capable of winning World Tour ITTs. But tomorrow's stage, Benji, should be a pretty exciting one. Strata Manufacturing to Jebel Hafeet. It's a Sosa day on paper, isn't it? Like, this is exactly like the Mont Ventoux stage. 166 Ks, pancake flat, and then they just do a 10.6K, 7% climb. But the problem is, I guess, it's not as steep as Ventoux. It's not as steep as Laguna Stonaya, and it flattens out in the last 3 kilometers. As we said in the preview, there's a 10% gradient in the 4th kilometer for that kilometer. Then the last 9th kilometer is 4%, 10th kilometer is 5.6%, and then the last 600 meters are flat. So breakaway Benji or GC guys, is Yates launching early? What do you think will happen tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's going to be a GC a victory on this terrain. I think it's relatively easy to control on the flat section before the climb, so it's not like it goes up and down. Then in the descent, you need to keep on pacing, otherwise the break gets 8 minutes. Nah, that likely won't happen here. I think in this terrain, we can expect the GC contenders to smash it on the climb. I think despite Pogačar being in the leader jersey, he might still attack because it's Pogačar. And obviously, Adam Yates will have to attack. He's in a position where he needs to. Almeida will need to make a small bit of a margin somewhere. Don't know where yet. But with that small margin, he could also just try and keep up with Pogačar and try and swamp him in the in the intermediate sprints again, like yesterday.
Yeah, I think that's what he should do.
Who knows? Yeah,
I think that's really what he should do. And yeah, I think Almeida has no. Almeida is not so far behind that he needs to do anything crazy. 6 seconds, or what is he, Benji, in GC? 5 seconds behind Pogačar. Well, that's a couple of intermediate sprints if Pogačar's not there. Or the stage result, if he can follow Pogačar and then outkick him at the line, both in this stage or in the stage 5 climb, which is a lot more gradual, then yeah, there's the difference. So Almeida has no real incentive to attack, I don't think, and I think Masnada will be there policing and controlling. I think it will be interesting to see if Yates attacks, it'll be UAE to follow, I think, and Quickstep will look at Pogačar and say, they have to look at Pogačar and say, it's your UAE must follow and chase back Yates. Yeah. We're just going to follow you. I think that's how that will play out. I've already got my memes ready for Ineos train. I think that's what I expect tomorrow. That's what should happen, same. Really. Ineos should launch it very, very early on the climb where it's steepest, and just like in Ventoux, pace very, very hard at the bottom. And then, Yates has to attack early. They've got Martinez, Sosa, Rivera, and Amador. Rivera I've never seen do anything good, so I think it's going to be Amador first on the early slopes, or getting them and Luke Rowe and Ganna getting them into position at the base of the climb. Early slopes Amador, then Martinez, then Sosa, then Yates. Now Yates might also attack at an opportunistic moment, sort of rider he is. I don't think he necessarily will just wait for the last man to pull off and then attack in a very scripted way. because Pogačar will be watching as well as Almeida. Do you think, is that how you see most likely it will play out tomorrow, Benji? And then I don't know what will happen after that, to be honest. It's early season.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think it's pretty straightforward who needs to attack and who doesn't need to attack. I think that Yates plainly needs to attack because it will be very hard to attack the two teams that are in control, which is the Koenig and UAE, to attack those two on the Jebel East climb, because that is much more of a steady low gradient. This is steeper, so differences can be made, and fits Adam Yates better than a steady low gradient, in my honest opinion. So attacks are more warranted on this climb than Jebel Yais, and will likely be able to achieve more than on Jebel Yais. But do you see it happening? I'm not sure he can.
Yates? No, I don't think so. I think he got, not lucky is the wrong word last year, but he benefited from Pogačar also having to be aggressive. Pogačar has to just be defensive here. He's got Formolo, Micah, Polance here with him. So that's a good team to be defensive with. So I think it's a lot more difficult for Yates this year to be making up that sort of time, 40, 45 seconds. That's a big difference on someone like Pogačar with this sort of teammates, where Pogačar does not need to attack himself. I really want to watch Ben Zweihoff tomorrow. I want to see what him and Bookman are looking like, what sort of form they're in, as well as Patrick Conrad. Not seen too much from any of the Bora guys so far this race. And yeah, I just want to see what Zweihoff looks like on a pure mountaintop finish, see if he's already meeting the hype. I'm looking down the list trying to find a spicy pick. Harm van Hoeke for Lotto Soudal. Harm van Hoeke is who I'm going to be watching for Lotto Soudal to see if he can repeat Etna from the Giro Stage 3 last year. I think it's certainly possible that someone competent, a goodish climber, if Yates gets brought back after the steeper section, and then UAE or Quickstep begin pacing false tempo, and then it gets to the last 2.5 kilometers, someone who is not a GC threat, I would not be surprised if they're able to attack and get to stage win. I'm looking at Ben Hartman's maybe a bit hard.
Sepp Kuss, Bookman.
Sepp Kuss, he is quite good at climbing. So
hot take.
Hot take. Quite good at climbing. Yeah, that's a good call. Obviously, Benji. Yeah, I don't know why I'm looking in the weeds too much. That's the obvious pick, like Vlasov in Vuelta last year. I think Kuss should be a top favorite for tomorrow because of the way he should get leash. And if Pogačar's feeling, the only problem is if Pogačar's feeling miserly and it says there is nothing free in this life, and this is my home tour. Anyway, that's been our stage 2 recap and our little preview of the first mountaintop finish in the World Tour this year, up Jebel Hafeet tomorrow. Looking forward to watching it. Check out Lecole, www.lecole.cc, or their Instagram. Links in the description if you want to get yourself some cycling kit leading into spring, and if you're in Melbourne leading into early winter. We've still got summer here on the Gold Coast, fortunately. Thanks for joining, Benji, and we'll see you tomorrow. Ciao.